Hi, my name is Denisha Moore, and today I'm going to be doing a book review over Last Call: The Rise and Fall of Prohibition. Prohibition lasted for 13 years, from January 16th, 1920, until December 5th, 1933. Prohibition was born from women being tired of their husbands coming home drunk, spending their money, and not taking care of the kids or the family or the household. So that's why they wanted the 18th Amendment added to the Constitution and forbid the sale or consumption of alcohol. So when Prohibition began, people were in disbelief, and some people decided to put the bottle down and come out into the light and become a citizen that contributed. But most of the population wasn't having that. They decided they were going to get their booze, and they didn't care how they had to get it. Some of them would make the booze in their backyard, in their basement, in the middle of the woods, and they would cover their tracks by using dead carcasses of animals. Um, but a lot of the times they would get bootleggers to go and get the alcohol from Canada or from another country and bring it back to them. And that was a very fast growing job area. Um, a lot of the times, if cops caught bootleggers, they were small time. Very rarely did they ever catch a big time bootlegger, and if they did, they just let them go after they paid a fine and were told, don't do this again, or next time you're gonna get it 3 times worse. Which never really happened until later on. Um, During Prohibition, the speakeasies were born because they knew that if they got caught um, in an establishment that was selling alcohol, that they could go to jail or the place could be shut down, and then the fun and party would be over. So speakeasies were born so if people wanted to go somewhere and quietly have a drink, they could, and they knew they weren't going to be disturbed by the police officers because there was no ruckus being made, so there was no need to investigate inside the building. Um, and if people weren't able to make a speakeasy that wasn't publicly known, but on the hush hush between the cops and the newspapers, they would buy a business like a soda shop, and then they would sell alcohol out of the back of the building or in a separate hidden room in the building, and that was another version of that. Also, during the Prohibition, speedboats were born because cops needed to patrol the border in order to stop people from smuggling alcohol from overseas back into the U.S. Um, but the criminals didn't want to be caught. So the same people who were making the boats for the cops also made the boats for the criminals, but they made the boats for the criminals 2 times faster than the cops' boat, um, so they would get away. And that was their way of sticking it to the man. Another thing that was born from Prohibition was people really being able to have a voice in what goes on in their community. Say, for instance, the public wanted the speakeasies number to go down. They would create a police force that would investigate into the speakeasies or into the businesses that were selling alcohol, and they would shut them down, or they would make it front page news and have important people names in there, and they didn't like the embarrassment, so they decided to go elsewhere with the party. The book is very interesting in the way that he tells the story of Prohibition through everybody's eyes, through the dry eyes, through the wet eyes, and how the dries wanted Prohibition to continue, because it was helping the social life of the men and the women, and people were finally getting back on track with their family life. But the Wets wanted Prohibition to end because the government was losing out on revenue. Um, the government usually taxed the alcohol businesses when there was a war, because they knew the money was going to keep coming in, because they knew people loved alcohol so much. So the Wets and the Dries were always butting heads on that topic, but eventually the Wets won because the Dries had so many scandals where the police officers were being caught ignoring ignoring problems in the community that they could have solved by shutting the businesses down, and they were being bribed left and right, and people just didn't like that. Their idea was, what's the purpose of having you here if you're not really going to do your job? So eventually, the tug of war was lost between the Wets and the Dries, and the people decided to have another amendment put into the Constitution, the 21st Amendment, which canceled out the 18th Amendment and made it legal to sell and consume alcohol once again. Um, so the American people were very happy about that. And Prohibition was left in the history books as a tale of hardship and a tale of perseverance from both the people and the government.